Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. If you can, reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place.
Hello, this is Nancy Greene for Reach Out. Today we are interviewing our new Reach Out host, Sheshai Lafountaine. It's good to see you.
It's nice to see you, Nancy.
Okay. Let's start with, what do you do?
Right now, I have a church at my home, and I work with teenagers from my community, actually from all over Rhode Island, because we have some kids from Providence, some from Pawtucket, some from my neighborhood, North Providence, and I teach them the Bible.
How do you start something like that?
Well, once I started to really have a strong relationship with God and start to read the Bible myself and know who God was, it changed my entire life. And when it changed my life, I wanted to share it with everyone that was around me. And I have 5 daughters. So having 5 girls and 4 of them are teenagers, their friends are always in and out of the house. And everyone that came in, I made sure that I would tell them, you know, what I was reading or what I learned, or if they were going through something, I would say, why don't we pray together? And before you know it, every day I would have like 4 or 5 people come over and they would say, well, what about this? Or, you know, they'd want to know something about, you know, Jesus, or, you know, just different questions. I wanted to pray for someone in their family. So after a while, I said, all right, everybody just come on Friday night. And then the first Friday night that I had the Bible study at a specific time, I had 40, 50 teenagers show up.
Wow, that's impressive.
It was amazing. Yeah. It was amazing. It just, you know, it made me want to reach out to so many more kids. And my daughters also work with me like a team. They go out there and they're bringing everybody home, you know, to teach them about God. And it turned so much around, even in my children's lives, because it gave them something that they had to hold a reputation for, you know? So God's just amazing. And being able to also work with the kids in my community also makes you want to work harder, makes you want to learn more so you could teach them more, you know? Right. So it's been amazing.
Yeah, this is missionary type work, but
yes.
You are ordained or not ordained?
I am.
Okay.
I am, but not the way I'd like to be. I would like to go to, you know, like a really good Christian school. Mm-hmm. I read the Bible every single day. I've been reading the Bible for years, every single day. But I did get ordained because I had to, because someone asked me to do a marriage for them, and I wanted to do it for them. So I did what I had to do to fulfill the legal aspect of it for Rhode Island, so I did it. But I would like to, you know, go to a school and spend time and learn and get it done that way too.
Yeah. What's your favorite book of the Bible?
Oh gosh, I love the entire Bible, but I like the book of Job.
Okay.
I like the book of Job. I like everything. I love the New Testament. I love everything. I love the Bible, period. When I read the Word, it's just like, to me, it's like food. It's food for my spirit. I can't get enough of it. If I'm upset, I got to go to my Word. If I'm happy, I got to go to my Word. That's how I start my day. Yeah. I can't even do anything without it. I love it.
Now, have you always been this devout, or was it sort of a developed thing?
It was developed. I know for a fact how good God is and how real He is for one reason, because of my own life. I was a totally different person, and what God did in my life is a testimony in itself. Every day there's like a testimony, especially because I have 5 girls. There's always something going on, you know? And God's just always there for me, keeps me happy, joy, peace. And I didn't used to have that. Okay. You know, I didn't wake up, you know, excited and, you know, with the peace that I have now. Every day when I wake up, it's like me and God, you know? But it had to be built up because I used to hear so many different things. And now I always loved God, but since I didn't know Him personally, when people would tell me about God, it was almost like, you know, I would get a little jealous, like, that's my God, how come I don't know that, you know? So then it made me want to start reading it for myself, so I could know for myself without hearing different people telling me different things, because different denominations have their own way of interpreting things, you know? So I wanted to know for myself, and that's what I did. And the only way to do that was for me to read every single day.
Right.
And over time, everything built up, the knowledge, and then I call it God calls it the fruits of the Spirit. You develop so many different things just from reading.
Right.
That was my instruction to life, because I lacked a lot of instruction in life.
Right. What was your upbringing like?
Well, I grew up in the care of DCYF. So as a child, I was put in a few different placements, and then I was adopted. So I had a solid foundation from the ages of 2 to 11, which was good, thank God.
Yeah.
And actually, I'll tell you a cute little story. I grew up in North Providence when I was little, so not many people had the name Sheshai.
Sure.
And I despised it. I wanted my name to be Tina. And my dad, my adopted dad, he used to read the Bible all the time. He would go in the bathroom, he'd say, "I'm going to my office, leave me alone." So he'd go in there and he'd read the Bible. And one day he called me and he said, "Look," he said, "I found your name." And it was in Joshua and Numbers. And that made me happy because it made me know a little bit more about myself.
Right.
And I always prayed to God anyhow. God was my everything, but I didn't really know him the way I know him now.
Okay.
So anyhow, my adopted home was till 11, and then between the ages of 11 and 12, I was like in 30 different placements. I was in different shelters, different group homes. When they took me from my adopted home and put me in a shelter for the first time, my adopted home was very sheltered. We didn't, hear bad words. I never slept out. We didn't even have cable. Everything was sheltered. And then they put me in a shelter in Bristol, and it was with all older teenagers. I was the youngest person there because they didn't have a placement for young kids at the time.
Right.
No one spoke to me. No one talked to me about the things that maybe I should have been talked to, about.
Nobody counseled you.
No one counseled me. I didn't even cry because I didn't want no one to see that I was scared,
Right.
So what I grabbed onto was the girls, because as soon as I walked in, that's who was there for me.
Right. And these were all older girls.
These are all older teenagers,
Right.
So I learned the wrong things very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And started going on the run. They taught me how to smoke cigarettes like in a week, all things that I never even heard of,
Right.
So between the ages of 11 and 12, I was in about 30 different shelters and group homes.
Wow.
Then I was put in a placement in Cranston, and both me and I had a biological sister. I have a biological sister.
Right.
And both of us have very unique names. So I was put in a classroom and someone came up to me and said, "You look just like this girl. Her name is," and I said, "That's my sister." Now, I hadn't seen her since, I was an infant.
Right.
And I went up to her, I told her who I was, and we knew right away we knew each other's
Right.
names. And she introduced me to my biological father that didn't want to get too involved because I was in the system,
Sure.
had his new life and everything, so he didn't want to get too involved. He gave me the information to my bio mother.
Okay.
Now, I took a plane at 12. I was on the run from DCYF from Providence, Warwick, to California by myself. Now, when I was little, and I know my adopted mom meant well by this, but she would always say to me, your mother loves you so much. She didn't give you up because she don't love you. She loves you so, so much. And so growing up as a little girl, I would always...
idolized her.
Yes. That was like my, oh, she loves me, she misses me, So when I got out to California, no. I wish that I never...
And she was in California?
Yes, my bio mother was in California, so that's why I took the plane out to sea.
Got it.
Now, she had 4 more children, so I had 4 half siblings, beautiful, that were out there, and she just was not what I thought was not what happened when I got out there. She was almost like disappointed. She said, one of the first things she said was, she looked at me and said, "You're damaged. I'll never have back who was taken away from me when you were a baby." Yeah. And then she said, basically...
Mentally abusive.
Yeah, what you expected to happen when you came out, that's not what's going to happen. You're going to have to be retrained by me. So it was... Never mind, she lived in her car. So So she was living in her car with my 4 half siblings. I wouldn't even go in the car. I felt bad because I didn't want to take no room from them. I slept outside and I liked it out there. So that was for like about a year that went on. And she was very, very abusive. And I ended up leaving, and I went to a Catholic church in the middle of the night one night when she fell asleep. And I went to the rectory door, and I asked, the father came to the door, and I told him everything. Like, I was at my wit's end. I just blurted out everything that was going on.
Okay.
And he helped me. He paid, he could have called the police and had me expedited back to Rhode Island. He didn't.
Right.
He got me a bus ticket. He let me stay the night. And in the morning, he drove me to the bus station, and he sent me home to Rhode Island. I'll never forget that. So I was put back in state care, and at 14, I met someone, and I got married.
At 14?
At 14. At 14, I was married. What happened was, I met someone, I was in junior high, and I got pregnant.
Okay.
And I told my social worker, and my social worker said, well, there's no placements for a mother and their child, so your child will automatically be in state care. And I said, that's not happening. I said, so we have to find a way to make sure that my child's with me. And they ended up finding a loophole, and I married the father, which was 21. I was 14.
Right, and of course there was nobody to give parental consent because you were in state care.
Right.
Okay.
So the state had to end up standing in though, but the loophole was kind of because I think it was something like anyone under the age of 18, anyone under the age of 18 needs parental consent.
Right.
But it didn't say anything about someone under 18 marrying someone over 18.
Okay.
Even though we know what the definition of that is, but that's a whole
I'm
nother
sure the
story.
laws have changed since then.
Right. So he was.
I hope.
He was 21. I was 18.
Right.
The law was the same as it is now with that, but there was a loophole.
Yeah.
But you know what? My daughter, amazing. So
Yeah,
it
of
doesn't
course.
matter, right? So I got married at 14, and that was hard.
Yeah.
It was very, very hard. And growing up without the, knowledge or the talks or the parent, to do, life skills in general, I made a lot of bad decisions, and the only blessings out of it were my children, because by the age of 20, I had 5 daughters, and I was raising them on my own.
Wow.
So out of it all, I was blessed with 5 girls, but a lot of bad choices, a lot of moving, a lot of ruining my credit, a lot, every decision, that bad decision you could make that you have to learn from, I've done it myself. The experience, I didn't get taught, I did it. So raising the girls and doing all that on my own with God, because I know God was right there with me.
Yeah.
I went through a lot of bad things, and finally it got to the point where everything was a mess. Everything was a mess. The only good thing was them.
Right.
And I said, you know what? God, I need help, because I cannot. And I even, my adopted dad, he ended up getting Alzheimer's. Now, this was some years ago.
Right.
But he has something to do with my devout, getting into my word and giving myself to God completely, because he had Alzheimer's. Now, he passed away in November 2009. 3 years prior to that, when he was diagnosed with dementia, Alzheimer's, I took him in. So it was me, Dad, and the girls.
Right.
And there was other things going on in my life too, that I was using crutches for things that, worldly things that I probably shouldn't have. And then my dad passed away in 2009. And then finally I was like, God, I need you. I need you. And I started I'll never forget it. The day I just went to my bed, dropped down to my knees, started praying, gave God everything that was going on in my life. And then I said, well, the only way to know you is to find you.
Right.
So I opened up the book, and that was it. From that day on, God's opened so many doors.
What happened to the husband?
Oh gosh, he was an abuser. He was so controlling. He didn't want me to go to school. I was 14 years old. Anything that I went to do,